Venom returns in this week's episode of Comic History. What's up guys, Roman from R&S Entertainment here, and welcome to another episode of Comic History, the weekly series where I explain and comment on the iconic origins, storylines, and events in the world of comics. In this video, we're going to be talking about Venom Returns, the second major Venom storyline after his inception in The Origin of Venom, and his second short conflict with Spider-Man in Venom vs. Spider-Man Round 2, both of which I've covered in previous episodes of Comic History. Venom Returns happens throughout Amazing Spider-Man issues 330 to 333, 344 to 347, and when collected in the trade paperback also includes a self-contained Venom story in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 25, which is a flashback further expanding on Eddie Brock's anti-hero nature and desire to protect innocence. Venom Returns is considered by many to be a classic Venom story, and for good reason. This was right after Venom's creation in the comics and helped cement his popularity and lasting value in Spider-Man's history, along with setting up the origin of Carnage, which I also covered in a previous episode of Comic History. Our story begins with Eddie Brock, aka Venom, who following the events in Venom vs. Spider-Man Round 2, was once again locked away in the Colorado supervillain prison known as the Vault, being found dead after seemingly hanging himself from his prison jumpsuit, with the alien symbiote he had joined with nowhere to be found. Vault scientists begin an autopsy on Eddie, finding no pulse or sign of breathing and confirming that the clothes he used to hang himself were not the Venom symbiote. When they cut into his flesh, however, instead of blood, the Venom symbiote writhes around them, with Eddie springing up from the table and scaring the shit out of the Vault employees. Venom shoots webbing around the face of one of the scientists, suffocating him while pulling the other in with the symbiote, explaining that he had had the Venom symbiote cover his entire body with an invisible second skin layer, one with no pulse or signs of life, while using the symbiote's powers to feed him oxygen directly from the air with no need to actually breathe himself. While he does this, he crunches the man's skull with his bare hands, taking the keycard from the dead men and disguising himself to once again escape the Vault and return to his sole mission: killing Spider-Man. Returning to his hideout in the abandoned fallout shelters below the streets of Manhattan, Eddie Brock tells the symbiote that killing Spider-Man would require strength, pointing out that as a regular human being, Eddie Brock's own physical strength is magnified geometrically by the symbiote, i.e. the stronger Eddie becomes himself, the stronger the symbiote can make him. While Venom trains, Spider-Man is attacked at a public appearance by the mercenary duo Sticks and Stone, who had been hired in a previous storyline by a dangerous psychotic stalker of Mary Jane, who had kidnapped her and used them to try to prevent Spider-Man from rescuing her. Spider-Man manages to evade Sticks, whose touch dissolves and instantly kills any organic matter it comes in contact with, and knocks him off a building where he's rescued by his partner and makes an escape. Peter has a disappointing lunch with Mary Jane in the studio where her soap opera is shot, and meanwhile, Aunt May watches a news report that says that escaped killer Eddie Brock, aka Venom, is still at large. Recognizing Eddie as Peter's friend from the times he came over to her house during Venom's second conflict with Spider-Man, Aunt May answers a knock at the door to see a smiling Eddie asking if Peter is home. Seeing the same news broadcast, Peter gets a call from Aunt May, who tells him that Eddie had shown up asking for him, and that she had told him Peter was on a photo assignment in Central Park, thinking that sending him to a public place would be the best way for the police to recapture him. Peter goes to the park as Spider-Man and is immediately charged by Eddie posing as a mounted police officer, turning into Venom and chasing Spider-Man into the woods. Venom catches Spider-Man and wraps the symbiote around his face, suffocating him as Spider-Man wildly shoots his webs hoping to grab something heavy. He pulls in a tree and smashes it into Venom, and while swinging away, Venom throws a taxi through the air at him, which smashes into a horse-drawn carriage on a bridge, knocking the passengers out as Venom webs Spider-Man up to a tree. Both Venom and Spidey notice that a baby had been thrown out of the carriage into the lake, and Venom leaves Spider-Man to save the child and return it to its parents, saying that as an innocent, it should be protected and cherished. Venom sees multiple police cars arriving at the scene, and wanting to keep his vengeance against Spider-Man personal, he decides to postpone it until later. Spider-Man escapes the webbing and goes to chase after Venom before noticing that the gas tank of the cab is about to explode, saving the family instead and losing Venom in the process. Knowing that Eddie had gone to Aunt May's house the day before, Peter stays with her to keep her out of danger, and when she walks out of the room to grab some marshmallows for his hot chocolate, Peter gets a tap on his shoulder that doesn't set off his spider sense, whirling around to find Venom casually saying that the lock on her bathroom window is broken. Eddie tells Peter to meet him in the subway tunnels in 24 hours so that they can fight without interference, and to come alone or he will pay dearly. Peter yells at Eddie that he's tired of these threats against Aunt May, and that if he touches her, Eddie stops him with a taken aback look and says, "Sir, you offend me," raising an eyebrow and saying that Aunt May was an innocent and that he would never harm her. He gives Peter his word that he'll never put Aunt May in danger and reaches out to shake his hand, with Peter awkwardly shaking it as Aunt May begins to come back into the room. Peter makes a hasty excuse that he was talking to someone from the gas company, with Venom using the symbiote to make a fitting disguise and leaving through the front door. Knowing that Mary Jane is too preoccupied worrying about her stalker being let out of prison on parole to be further terrified by Venom's reappearance, Peter turns to his former bully Flash Thompson, who funny enough is a future host of the Venom symbiote, for advice, going to the gym where Flash is teaching underprivileged children to box as an attempt to be a role model, like Spider-Man was to him. Without knowing what Peter is going through, Flash's words about how Spider-Man taught him about never giving up even when things are at their hardest gives Peter the encouragement he needed to once again face his deadliest foe. Spider-Man meets Venom in his lair, where Venom is casually sitting back waiting for him, and when Spider-Man realizes that Venom is talking too much and not attacking, the symbiote springs from the shadows in a sneak attack, with Spider-Man dodging and weblining one of Eddie's barbells to hit him back. Suddenly, a massive chain wraps around Venom's leg, with Sticks and Stone, who had been following Spider-Man, showing up and blasting Venom with a sonic cannon. Venom lunges at Stone, who tries to blind him with a strobe blast, but the symbiote simply shields Eddie's eyes, negating the effect. Stone jumps back and shoots Venom with a machine gun, and enraged, Venom goes to kill him, but while Spider-Man is immobilized by poisonous gas, Sticks runs up behind Venom and grabs him with both hands, the instant death effect of his powers dissolving the Venom symbiote as Eddie screams. Spider-Man knocks out Stone and captures Sticks, while Eddie cries over the dead remains of his other. Without the symbiote's power, Eddie is sent to Rikers Island prison instead of the vault, with Spider-Man giving the dead remains of the symbiote to the Fantastic Four. Imprisoned at Rikers, Eddie continues to train and keep his body in peak condition, intending to one day avenge the death of his symbiote, and meets his deranged cellmate Cletus Cassidy, who would go on to become Carnage when the Venom symbiote, still alive after having put itself into a protective coma to fight off the cancerous powers of Styx, returns to Eddie and helps him break out of prison as Venom once again, leaving its spawn, the Carnage symbiote, behind. For more information on Cletus becoming Carnage and the Venom Spider-Man team-up where they fight him for the first time following Venom Returns, check out my Origin of Carnage episode of Comic History. Venom returns to the building of his former employer, the Daily Globe, and murders a former co-worker who was there after hours stealing files on other reporters to sell for blackmail, then uses the computers in the office to research experiments he planned to use to kill Spider-Man. Hearing about Eddie's escape from prison, Peter is also informed by the Fantastic Four that the symbiote is gone as well, knowing that Venom had returned, and sending Mary Jane away to stay with her family, which puts a strain on their marriage but keeps her safe. Eddie scares the shit out of Peter by showing up to him at a local diner, leading him into an alley where a crackhead tries to hold them up for money. When the crackhead threatens to kill Peter, Eddie slams him against the wall, saying he's ours, and in the confusion, Peter flees up a wall and runs away, with Eddie casually thinking that it's a small world. Peter holes up in a roach-infested hotel, checking his phone messages to find a message from one of his university professors letting him know that he was requested to help with a new project that can safely quick freeze a human being, and then getting a message from Eddie asking if he got a good night's sleep. Planning to use the cryogenics experiment to capture Venom, Spider-Man swings through the city and is immediately attacked, with the fight leading them into the Bronx Zoo. Venom tackles Spider-Man through the lion enclosure, grabbing an escaped lion by the mane to stop it from attacking innocent bystanders and slapping Spider-Man away, webbing up the lion and chasing after him once again. Venom chases him all the way to the cryo lab, with Spider-Man swinging into what is marked as the control room, though it turns out to be a trap set by Venom, who had fabricated the phone call and led Spider-Man into the freeze chamber, turning on the machine, which freezes Spider-Man into a state of unconsciousness. Spider-Man awakens on a deserted island where Venom had chartered a plane and taken him to avoid their final fight being interrupted by outsiders. Spider-Man distracts Eddie with webbing and flees into the jungle, but when he stops for a drink of water, Venom's arms erupt from the water and pull him under, with Venom having used the symbiote's ability to camouflage itself to mimic the appearance of water. With Venom able to breathe underwater, Spider-Man smacks him with a branch that had sunk to the bottom, flinging himself away and finding an abandoned mining village, using his head start to rig up a trap for Venom using vines and dirt. Venom appears camouflaged into the side of a tree, punching Spider-Man in the face and chasing him into the village, running directly into Spider-Man's rope trap and getting smashed by the door of a building. Spider-Man runs away once again, with Venom throwing a truck that he barely manages to avoid, resulting in Spider-Man finding the collapsed mining tunnels full of dangerous gas. Spider-Man manages to make it back to the beach, but Venom sends the symbiote through the sand to entangle him, with Spider-Man taking the opportunity to attack Eddie's exposed human body. That night, Spider-Man finds Eddie keeping warm by a fire with the symbiote keeping watch, and knowing that Venom will never stop hunting him until his death, he decides to give Venom exactly what he wants. Spending an hour preparing, Spider-Man lures Venom back towards the village with a burning piece of wood, with Venom throwing another vehicle at the glowing target, resulting in a giant explosion from the gas in the mining tunnels. Venom finds a corpse with Spider-Man's costume and melted web shooters the next day, which Peter had exhumed from the village's graveyard and outfitted with his gear to trick him. Believing Spider-Man to be dead, Eddie rejoices, smiling as Peter swims out to a ship passing by, with Eddie and the symbiote deciding to remain on the island in peace, having completed their mission. Eddie smiles in the sunlight, thinking to himself that it's a wonderful feeling to be free. And that wraps up Venom Returns, the second major Venom story arc and a fun classic conflict between him and Spider-Man. Venom Returns does a great job of cementing exactly who Eddie Brock and Venom are, from him being willing to hold off from his goal of killing Spider-Man if it allows him to save the lives of innocents, to him showing his code of honor by pledging to never hurt Aunt May, to being willing to live a life of peace and happiness once he believes his quest to be over. Other Spider-Man foes, like the Green Goblin, may do more actual damage to Peter's life and even murder the people he cares about, but few of them terrify and get to him on a personal level as much as Venom. And these early Venom Spider-Man stories are great for anyone interested in these characters to understand where they come from and how their interactions have developed. If you want to see more classic Venom Spider-Man stories, you can check out the videos I've done preceding Venom Returns, including the origin of Venom and Venom vs. Spider-Man Round 2. Or follow directly after this with the origin of Carnage, and then tons of other symbiote origins and storylines, all of which can be found on the Comic History playlist on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know what you think of Venom Returns in the comment section below, along with any other videos you'd really like to see. And subscribe to my channel for weekly content on comics and all sorts of other cool stuff as well. And if you'd like to commission an episode of Comic History on any storyline you want, go check out our Patreon at patreon.com/rnsentertainment, where you can help support my channel and ensure that I can create bigger and better videos for you guys. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Roman_RNS. I actually decided to do Venom Returns this week as a result of a poll I ran on there, so make sure to go follow me. And also like and follow our Facebook page, and I'll see you guys next time.